Count 27, reckless conduct. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty.
That heinous, like I don't know if anybody could ever see that kind of evil.
On February 27, 2026, Colin Gray took the stand in his murder and manslaughter trial. "He's a good kid," the father said through tears, defending his son Colt against charges stemming from a school shooting. Gray is the first parent in the United States charged with murder for a child's school shooting, an unprecedented prosecution that would hinge on what he knew and when he knew it. Over 9 days of testimony, digital forensics investigator Ashley Gilliland methodically presented records dating back several years before the incident, supporting the prosecution's case that Colin Gray was negligent in the events leading up to the Apalachee High School shooting. The evidence painted a damning picture of a father who repeatedly ignored escalating warning signs while actively enabling his son's access to weapons.
Arguing with his mom, arguing or bull rushing, he never once made a threat to me or his sisters or brother or anybody.
The timeline prosecutors laid out was chilling. On August 12, 2024, Colt sent his father a series of aggressive text messages, including, "This is the end for you," and "Whenever something happens, just know the blood is on your hands." 4 days later, Colt texted Gray, "I'm restraining myself for what I want to do." Instead of securing his weapons or seeking immediate help, Colin Gray did nothing decisive. Even more disturbing was what investigators found on Colt's phone. Photos dated August 9, 2024, recovered from Colt's phone, showed what prosecutors described as a school shooter shrine in his bedroom, including images of Parkland shooter Nicholas Cruz on the wall. This wasn't a hidden obsession. It was displayed openly in the teenager's room where his father would have seen it.
Barrow County District Attorney Brad Smith relentlessly questioned Colin Gray about his son's behavior.
The prosecution's financial records told their own story. Between March and June 2024, Colin Gray purchased numerous accessories for a Sig Sauer rifle, including a green laser, a bungee sling, and other tactical equipment. When prosecutor Patricia Brooks asked investigator Gilliland about corresponding purchases for gun safes, Gilliland testified, "No." When Brooks asked about gun-related purchases or accessories, Gilliland said, "Yes." The implication was stark. Colin Gray was arming his son while taking no steps to secure the weapons. The AR-15 style rifle itself had been a Christmas gift from Colin Gray to his son in December 2023.
He had a healthy respect for weapons. They stayed where I told them to stay. And in the heat of the moment, whether it was...
This wasn't an impulse purchase. It was a deliberate decision to arm a troubled teenager who had already shown violent tendencies. The prosecution argued that Gray continued buying tactical accessories for the weapon, even as his son's behavior deteriorated throughout 2024. Perhaps most damaging was evidence suggesting Colin Gray understood the legal stakes. About a week before the September 2024 shooting at Apalachee High School, Colt's mother, Marcy Gray, searched on Google for "school shooter parents charged with manslaughter." She then found and read a CNN article about the Crumbly cases and what their convictions meant for parents. After the Google search, Marcy Gray called her estranged husband, Colin Gray, multiple times, phone records show. The prosecution suggested this was a warning call about parental liability, one that Colin Gray ignored. The family's dysfunction ran deeper than just the parents' troubled marriage.
Mother, I know that there's something that he's dealing with. He's got issues. He needs help.
Jenny Gray, Colt's 13-year-old sister, testified that her father specifically asked her to avoid mentioning his knowledge of images and articles of Nicholas Cruz, the imprisoned Florida school shooter, that her brother had posted in his bedroom. The day of the deadly rampage at Apalachee High School, Colin Gray asked his daughter to cover for him if investigators questioned her about what he knew leading up to the shooting. Even when mental health resources were offered, Colin Gray failed to follow through. Gray researched mental health facilities, such as Eagle Overlook in Athens, but records show he did not respond when the facility contacted him on August 20th and 21st. This was just weeks before the September 4th shooting that would claim 4 lives. The prosecution's message was clear. Colin Gray had every tool, every warning, and every opportunity to prevent the tragedy at Apalachee High School.
Never made that kind of action or movement towards a gun, made a threat, never said anything about a gun.
Instead, he armed his son, ignored the red flags, and enabled the violence that followed. As the evidence mounted, the question shifted from whether Colin Gray knew about the warning signs to how he could possibly defend his decision to keep deadly weapons accessible to a teenager spiraling toward violence. Given all the evidence about Colin Gray buying tactical accessories while ignoring his son's violent threats and shrine to the Parkland shooter, do you think parents should face murder charges when their kids commit school shootings? Drop your answer in the comments below. Now let's see how Colin Gray tried to defend these decisions when he finally took the stand. But when Colin Gray finally took the stand on February 27, 2026, his emotional defense crumbled under the weight of the evidence prosecutors had already presented. Through tears, he insisted, "He's a good kid. He wasn't perfect, nor was I, but to do something that heinous, I don't know that anybody can see that kind of evil. The Colt I knew, the relationship I had, there was this whole other side of Colt I didn't know existed." Colin Gray testified that he gave Colt the AR-15 style rifle as a Christmas gift in December 2023, walking down the hallway after the family had opened presents and telling his son, "I have one more thing for you." His reasoning sounded almost wholesome in the courtroom.
He was pissed about other things, but that gun was understanding we had that what it was for.
He testified that he gave his son the rifle as a Christmas present in hopes of bonding with the boy over hunting and outings at the gun range. He said he first introduced his son to firearms in an attempt to bond with him and get him away from screens and video games. The father painted a picture of responsible gun ownership that prosecutors would systematically demolish. "I was very clear on the rules. No loaded guns in the house ever, and he abided by those rules. He respected the weapon," Colin Gray testified. "We didn't have it in a safe. We didn't have locks on it. But I'm telling you, he had a healthy respect for weapons." Yet the prosecution had already shown jurors that none of the firearms had a lock or safety on them, and there were no gun safes in the home. Colin Gray testified that he generally kept the firearms on the top shelf of his bedroom closet without a lock or safe. The Sig Sauer rifle was sometimes in Colt's room, mainly before or after a trip to the gun range. This directly contradicted witness testimony that the firearm was kept in Colt Gray's room, with his grandmother saying, "Every time I went up there, I saw it in Colt's room." But it was District Attorney Brad Smith's cross-examination that exposed the full scope of Colin Gray's willful blindness. Smith challenged him to explain his position, given that Colt had previously searched "How to Kill Your Dad" in 2021 and was investigated for threatening a school shooting online in 2023.
There are photos and newspaper clippings of the notorious mass shooter Nikolas Cruz.
When confronted about his son's fascination with school shooters, Colin Gray claimed he did not know his son was fascinated with school shooters and did not see the shrine of photos of Nikolas Cruz, the Parkland school shooter, on Colt's bedroom wall. This testimony rang hollow after prosecutors had shown jurors photos of a shrine of photos of Nikolas Cruz pinned to the wall next to a desk in Colt's room. Colin Gray also denied ever telling his daughter to lie on his behalf, as she testified earlier this week, saying he was shocked by her testimony. Yet his 13-year-old daughter, Jenny, had testified that he told me if they asked me anything about if he knew that Colt had problems, and his problems would lead up to this, that I should basically try to cover for him, and specifically about the pictures on the walls, he told me not to tell them that he knew what they were. During cross-examination, Prosecutors hammered Gray on details he left out of conversations with social workers and others checking up on his children. Gray told the court that he didn't believe that DFCS could do more than his son's schools were doing.
You could do something that heinous. Like, I don't know if anybody could ever see that kind of evil.
At the end of their cross-examination, prosecutors showed a gun lock which was still in its packaging that they said was found in Colt Gray's closet. "You know how these work?" they asked. The unused lock, still sealed in its original packaging, became a devastating symbol of Colin Gray's negligence. A simple safety device that could have prevented 4 deaths, but remained unopened in his son's closet. The most damning moment came when prosecutors played body camera footage from just hours after the shooting, where Colin Gray blurted aloud, "I knew it." He testified.
The Colt I knew, the relationship I had, there's this whole other side of Colt I didn't know existed.
Friday, he made that comment because he had finally pieced together what happened. But he reiterated he did not know ahead of time that Colt would carry out a school shooting. "I never heard, or he never spoke to me about doing anything as drastic as he had done," he said. Colin Gray was the defense's only witness and finished his testimony late Friday. Closing arguments are set for Monday. As the first parent in American history to face murder charges for their child's school shooting, Colin Gray's conviction.
Count 27, reckless conduct. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty.
Could fundamentally change how the justice system responds to preventable tragedies. The question is no longer whether parents should be held accountable when they arm troubled teenagers. It's whether Colin Gray's tears and claims of ignorance can overcome the mountain of evidence showing he had every warning, every tool, and every opportunity to prevent the massacre at Apalachee High School. Subscribe for more true crime trials and catch our Crumbly Parents coverage next.